Jaima. My name is Rajada, and this is a special program I'm going to do once a month where we meet interesting people who are living the Shakti Sovereignty lifestyle in anything, in art, in creativity, in spirituality, in science, and we bring conversations to you from the void. Basically, conversations about consciousness and how to live as in this dance of Shiva and Shakti in the world today. So, come along and let's take a ride into conversations with the void. So today I'm very honored and pleased to have with me Isis Indriya. Now, before I'll introduce you to her in a second, but Isis, I'm a big fan of her work. I know her work from the Shift Network, and she teaches a kind of a very esoteric mix of Egyptian cosmology, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and native traditions woven into a magical concoction that I'm going to let her talk about in a second. Hello, Isis. Welcome. Jaima.
Ma.
Jaima. And her partner is a Kaula Tantric, so it's even better. So she knows what we're doing here. So welcome, Isis. So nice to have you with us. Wonderful.
Thank you. It's a real honor to be here with each and every one of you. Thank you once again for welcoming me today.
So today, I know I don't want to go too much into biography because you grew up in Guam, then you moved to California. We know the story. But I wanted to ask you about how you came to the prophetess tradition. What pulled you into especially Egyptian cosmology and all of that? Tell us about that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Well, to begin, I just want to honor each and every one of our ancestors too, and all the homelands that are gathered here today, and how it is that we're together at this particular configuration. So I just bow to each and every person here. And as you know, my name is Isis Indriya, born in Mesa, Arizona, raised in the island of Guam. Our culture is Tsumoru people. And really what led me to the prophetess oracular studies and work was my mom died when I was very young. I was 4 years old, and she died of cancer. And it seemed like my entire life I was really just seeking her, to reconnect with her. And through that genuine desire to reconnect with her, I started finding myself really interested in the unseen forces at play. And in Guam, in Guahan, we are very much of the land, we're people of the land. We belong to the land. And with that, so many places in Guahan have stories and legends of living unseen forces that are how creation creates itself on the island. And so I found myself traveling to these places and to feel her, really, to feel her. And then her became the big her. It started with her as my mom, and then as my mother, my holy mother. I started on my journey of studying the Marys and the Mares and the holy mothers to connect with the holy mother. And I would say I'm still doing that, And through this period of time living on Guam, I did go through a very intense depression because of not feeling the love of my mother. Really, I didn't know. And through that period of depression, what really helped me was to enter into my own cave. And I just found myself creating conditions to go into a cave, whether it was through meditation or through practice or on the land or anywhere I could, was to just go further and further and further inside. And through that process, I found my way to all different kinds of interests in studying mystical traditions. My dad was so generous. He never told me there's one way. He was always like, there's many. And he never told me how to do it. He just opened up the door for me to explore. So we traveled a lot and all these things. And I remember a particular moment in time where I was at a very young age, around 17, I started studying breathworks. And I remember this particular moment with breathworks where I almost couldn't see. I was in the breath practice. It was almost like everything kind of went dark. And when everything started going dark in this practice, this deep transformation happened and this breakthrough happened where all of a sudden I started to feel like I could see what's invisible in a different way. And then I just began my journey of learning everything I could from everything you shared about in relationship to that. And through that practice, the art of employing our senses, communing with these faculties that make us who we are, and opening up these gates and these pathways of consciousness through employing the senses, all of these different channels started opening. And so I started studying. What is this? At 19, I went to Egypt and I
That was
followed
the
it.
first time you went to Egypt was 19?
19.
Wonderful. Was that on just backpacking, or you went with somebody or a teacher, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I was following my teacher, who was a transpersonal psychology, Maggie Huang, and also she was really into stargates, and I was really having a relationship with star systems. I followed her, who followed her teacher, sold everything. I was like, I'm going. I went to Egypt for 3 weeks. I'm 47 now, so it was a while
So
ago.
19, you did that.
At 19,
You just dumped everything. I'm off.
I'm off. And then because of the relationship with death, I feel like death is why I was so interested in Kemet in Egypt. And
Mm,
I'm still
mm.
interested. I still go.
You go every year, don't you? You take a group every year, don't you?
Yeah, we go every year, and it's so magnificent because
I'm coming. I'm coming.
please come. Let us go. Let's all
I'm
go together.
coming. But I think that what I love about your work, and we'll talk a little bit more about the journey after 19 in a second, but you integrate everything. You integrate dance, theater, I mean, I love how you mixed it all. This what? So were you also a dancer and did you learn theater and drama? How did that happen? What happened there? You know.
I love ritual theater. I started getting into experimental theater at a very young age, and through the studies of experimental theater, I started finding my way into ritual theater, and its roots that we know of so far are Kemet, Egypt.
Mm,
And that the story is that theater comes out of ritual theater, where
mm.
we embody creation stories and we become vehicles for the divine to experience and co-craft with us. And once I started learning that, I was like, may I be a vessel in a vehicle. Still feel that way, as we are. And through dance and music and art, is to become artists as we engage and study the sacred sciences. We study the sacred sciences, the technologies, and then we create with them as vehicles. We become
Wonderful.
artists.
How long did you stay in Egypt?
3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That was a beginner program.
Big program. Yeah.
So what kept you going back there? What was it, the teacher, or you went on your own, or how did it happen?
I found myself immersed. I just could not get enough of studying and learning.
Mm,
It still feels that way. I just couldn't get enough. And of all the different traditions that I'm so devoted to and that I do still study, there's something about ancient Egypt, the Kemetic wisdom tradition, that still lands and really makes sense to me and helps me understand how I can serve more here.
mm,
And it's an endless journey of study. Like it never stops. And that's another thing I like about it because I'm a seeker. I'm a
mm,
genuine seeker. And then through the oracular work and the prophetess work, there's a lot of netaru, netters, or a lot of cosmic forces that are very similar in the Hindu tradition. We call them cosmic forces.
mm,
And through the deep study of the netaru is what it means to be vehicle for a specific one,
mm.
how to attune to that consciousness or that emanation of consciousness, and how certain ones are very useful and helpful for different things that,
Like the Mahavidyas, exactly,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah, exactly.
exactly, exactly. And but you wait, what made you want to embrace the oracular and the prophetess traditions as well? Because I can understand the love of, the sacred feminine and the power. Was that a natural fit to go into the oracular, to go into the prophetess, to go into the healing? in that way? Was that a natural thing for you?
Something that I kept finding in my nerd life of the mystical teachings was that
We're all
something
super geeks here. It's okay.
is
We're
super
all
geek,
super geeks here.
is that something that is very that unites us is that we have these faculties. And the term oracle is very connected to Greece, and it means orar, to see, and also to pray.
Mm.
And within that, other terms that associate with oracle are prophetess, sibyls. There's many different forms all over the world. And in the oracular tradition, becoming a vehicle, an oracle, what drew me to that was I started realizing, wow, so many villages and communities and cultures and societies, there were oracles that were part of the advisory council. They were on the team to help,
They were political leaders.
yes, political.
Yes.
And at the time of, the great forgetting, as we are remembering more, these faculties are turning on, and it's a part of who we are. Every single mystical bloodline has a lineage tradition of these mystical teachings. And it's something that unites us. And that was a big part of why I kept finding myself in this work. And then one year I got invited to a prophecy council. It's like maybe 25 years ago or something like
Where
that.
was this? Where was this? This sounds amazing. What is the Prophecy Council? I've never heard of it. What is that?
It was a council here in Gold Country, Ustama,
Okay.
Nevada County. And it was all these wisdom carriers from around the world were invited to come and
From
share
native traditions, from all kinds of traditions.
all over the world.
Wonderful.
And it was about 25 years ago, and I was invited, and I'm like, me? You know? And then they're like, yeah, we would love you to come and represent the prophecy of your generation.
Oh, you were the newbies, the new ones,
We're the new ones.
carrying the fire, carrying the
Yes,
flame.
yes.
Yes, yes.
And at the time, I was already deep in my oracle path, but I didn't know what it meant to be a vehicle for prophecy. And so what we did is we did a ritual theater offering to all of the wisdom carriers. And I will never forget this Hopi elder. Um, he came out, many of them actually, but one particular flute clan, he came out, he just started weeping. And he was weeping because he said, this is the rainbow prophecy. We're together, we are united from all our cultures and traditions. And the prophecy that was coming through us, prophet see, how we see or how we offer through our most genuine, authentic natures,
Hmm.
is the braiding and the weaving. And with that, I just started going deeper into the prophetess department. And it's like there's all these little departments.
When did you start the Academy of Oracle Arts? When did you start that?
I started that. Well, that's an interesting story. I mean, the school
First,
itself.
tell us what it is. First, tell us what it is.
Okay. Oracle Arts is a school that focuses on the sacred arts and sciences of many cultures and traditions. And it's very focused on, again, braiding and to innovate the eternal, the eternal teachings and how
Oh, by
they.
the way, I just want to interrupt you, but the real meaning of Tantra is weaving. So it's nice that you're using braiding. I like that. Very nice. Go on, please continue.
So it's called the Academy of Oracle Arts because there's a crystal ball called the Oracle. And this crystal ball was gifted to a few of us in 2001 to support the evolution of the community. And so we started learning how to work with this crystal ball through different oracular arts like scrying and a variety of different divinatory practices. And we would ask the crystal ball how to serve, like what do we do next? And it was about a 10-year journey with thousands of people. And every event was what we received and learned from the crystal ball. And after that journey completed, and again, that was 2001, so it ended, late 2000s or, then I kind of went on my own shamanic journey and went studying in a lot of the plant families. And one day I saw this letter that Chief Arvo Looking Horse wrote to Obama of, about calling forward Native support. And I just started weeping, and it just took me on this whole journey. And then I asked for the crystal ball to come back. And when the crystal ball was brought back, all of a sudden, all of these people started asking if they could study. And I was like, study
Mm.
what? Like, what do you mean? And then it just was born 5 years ago through that. And in the journey of that timeline from 2001 to, about 5 or 6 years ago, I would receive a lot of visions and instructions from this crystal ball. Most of what my life is in service to the instructions I receive, pretty much. And one of them was a vision of what's called an Oracle divination board.
Mm.
And it's this divination technology to ask what offerings to make and how to commune with the more than human realm of the natural world and the divine so we can craft together. And so simultaneously, this divination board, through support of, a couple of
Did
friends,
you design that by intuition? It was an
it,
intuitive gift that came.
it came as a vision.
Mm.
But I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a map of something. And then through work with a couple of friends, Johnny and Tasia, it became an actual board.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden
So
I
that's
started
part of your practice now is this board.
this
So
board
you got the crystal ball, you got the board, you got the
and the
dice, you've got okay, I love it. You're going to tell us all about that in a second, but yeah.
but the one thing about it's really interesting about the board, and I can show it. I actually have one here. Is I found in oracular arts, I really love there to be a medium
Hmm.
versus my body to be the medium entirely. Because there was a period where my body was the medium consistently, and it'd be hard to turn off, you know? And then I found that the board was a really helpful technology to be a medium, and then
To tune
also,
it.
yeah, and then also where come people can come into council and commune together.
It reminds me of the story of Solomon and his jinns and how he had them all on the zodiac and he controlled them all and he was able to keep the energy and power by keeping it all in the zodiac and the scrying that came from that. Wow. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to you. So you can run a masterclass and whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to do for the next half an hour, 45 minutes, it's yours. And then we'll open it up to questions from the Kula.
Well, I already love what you did, so I'm going to start with what you shared because it's my heart. But before I start that, I just want to introduce the board. Here it is. Um, and it's a blueprint of many cosmological principles that come together in this board. And through tossing of dice and placing of tools, Sekhmet is one of them. It's the art of interpretation. And so I just wanted to introduce her because I
It's
sent her name.
beautiful. It's almost like a hermetic kind of Kabbalistic board, It's lovely. It's beautiful. Wow.
Yes, exactly. Amazing. Well, I would love to begin with what you shared in terms of the netters that you represented here already. And first, you mentioned Aset or Isis, Sekhmet, Ma'at, and Hathor. And those are very deep in my heart, these netters. And so the term netter or netteru, what I love about this term is it references in the n water. There's this relationship with water from the get-go. One of the stories is that the androgynous serpent that lives in the body of Nu is the life force energy that travels through all of the Neter Neteru. And so there's this relationship with life force energy that comes from the holy waters of life and then travels into all of the different members of the Neter Neteru. And the very first netter in this context, netter oftentimes means divine force or universal principle of creation, is water. And so this idea that we come from water, we're made from water, we are raised in water, we were born after the water, and we return to the water. Now, in that the beautiful relationship with the holy waters of life, the first being that you mentioned was Aset, Isis. And Isis is the Greek name, and then the Kemetic name is Aset or Ast Ist. And her name means the throned one. And oftentimes you see her just like we saw a different crown, but oftentimes her crown is a throne, And the throne represents the birthing chamber because she's a representation of the Holy Mother also. And being that it's the birthing chamber, there's a really big, like a really important focus around what it means to be a vehicle for divine consciousness and the divine sparks to come through. And Aset, the throned one, is of a lineage of holy mothers. You know, Mary, Mother Mary, Magdalene, you know, Tripura Sundari, and all of these lineages, Inanna, Ishtar, Diana, you know, Aphrodite, Venus, what's sometimes referenced as the Venusian line. Aset, Isis, is one of those lineages of the Holy Mother. She has this really, really beautiful temple in Kemet. Maybe some of you have been there. It's so beautiful. Temple of Philae. Currently, it has been moved because of the damming of the Nile. But in her temple, there's this particular region in the temple where it's really about resurrecting the divine human nature. This art of resurrection, and to resurrect our divine nature and resurrect the nature as humans. So we're embodied and walking around with that collaboration inside of ourselves, becoming a vessel or cleansing the vessel to become a vehicle for creation to create itself through us. This is part of her medicine. And in some of the traditions, she's really known to be the carrier of the mystery teachings and the carrier of the sacred arts and sciences. And the grand story of creation with Aset and Asad, one of the stories is that she made a commitment to stay here and continue to support and bring forward the mystery teachings. So I just want to acknowledge her here. Also, she has a sister named Nebetet or Neptis, and her sister is also represents the invisible, unseen forces at play, and then Aset is the visible forces, threshold of the visible and the invisible relationships and realities. And a lot of the stories is that this sisterhood, these twins, they're together performing all the grand rites of Heka and magic to help restore the memory and bring the broken parts of humans and society and consciousness back into wholeness again through the art of resurrection, resurrecting the divine human nature. So there's a little bit of Aset. And then the second one that you mentioned was Sekhmet, which is the lion-headed neter. And her name, Sekhmet, embedded in her name is Sekhem. And Sekhem means power. And it means the generative power of creation, the creative fire that creates power. And Sekhem is also this really beautiful healing modality similar to Reiki that comes from ancient Egypt. That's a way to be a vehicle for this cosmic power to help restore integrity back into humanity. And Sekhmet as this lion-headed neter, Ntr, there's like a way to also, I'm learning how to pronounce Ntr. She is known to be the creative fiery matrix that generates and powers the grid of consciousness. And there's this one story where humans were so out of integrity, and Sekhmet went on this rampage, and she was like, I'm going to destroy them all. And the story is she goes to Kemet and she just kills all of the humans until the Nile runs red with the blood of humans. And then some of the other netters are like, hold on, give them another chance. And she's like, no, I'm not giving them another chance. And they're like, hold on. And she won't stop. And so the story is because she drinks blood, they fill the Nile with beer. So when she goes to drink the blood, she gets drunk and she relaxes. And then humans are given another chance. Part of that.
It's really funny that Inanna is also the goddess of beer. It's also very good. I like that. I like that.
And then part of the story is that this is very similar to now. You know, we have another chance. And Sekhmet, as the lion-headed, you know, netter, she also has a sister, and her sister name is Bastet, and she's like a black, almost like sometimes it looks like a jaguar or a domesticated black cat. And she is her twin, Sekhmet and Bast. And Bastet is like the milk and the honey, and joy and celebration. And Sekhmet is like integrity and healing and clearing and cleaning. She's like a warrior that serves compassion. She has compassion and she's a healer and a warrior. And Bast is like, let us celebrate this life and let us bring the juices of milk and honey to also support us and joy as activism. And they're two sides, they're sisters. Sekhmet has a partner named Ptah. It means the divine utterance. And Ptah is like the creator of the heaven and the earth. And they have a child named Nefertem. And Nefertem is known to be the blue lotus. The
Mm.
blue, the child of Sekhmet and Ptah, that is the blue lotus that offers the blue lotus to the nose of Ra, the sun, is some of the stories. And Nefertem, as a symbol of the blue lotus, is also a symbol of all of Egypt, of Kemet. You look at a topographical map of Egypt, there's the Blue Nile and the White Nile that begin in Ethiopia and Uganda, and they're like the root systems of the lotus, and they come together in Khartoum, Sudan, and then travels north, all up the Nile travels north, and then it distributes at one point into 7 tributaries, which were the 7 tributaries of the Hathors. And those 7 tributaries, it's not 7 right now, but originally it was, were like the blossoming consciousness of the lotus. And some of the stories is that our body is the same. We have 2 legs. One leg is the Blue Nile, one's the White Nile. They come together at our sex and it travels up our spine, our Jed. And Jed is a symbol of the spine, the symbol of Aset's consort, Asar, also known as Osiris, the Jed. And then it travels up our spine and then it opens up and blossoms in our consciousness around with the eye of Ma'at at the center, the pineal. So the Jed, that's our spine, and the eye of Ma'at, the Jed eye. And then this is also an example of the topographical map of Kemet, of Egypt. And they had this real beautiful and still exquisite remembrance and story that all of the heavens are reflected on the earth. And they built all of Kemet to represent the regions of the cosmos of the heavens, to make and shape through ritual and theurgy, sacred architecture, and cosmic resonance, heaven on earth. This was like the focus. And then through this building, through studying the cosmic stories at play, through the architecture, and through ritual and theurgy, to make heaven on earth, we are the vehicles for these cosmic forces to play as like instruments. And so the
Mm.
story is that our job as humans is to do the rituals and the rites. And they believe that because through us, as we do the rituals and the rites, we maintain the bonds between the forces of the natural world and the cosmic forces at play. And then, so we create bonds. We're bonding as humans and bonding with the natural world and the cosmic forces. And that through the rituals and the rites, as we make offerings, as we do, in our practices, is to feed that which is feeding us and then also co-craft and co-shape together. This is very similar, to a lot of the traditions that I imagine you focused on. And this is something that I really love. And in the work with Sekhmet and Ptah and Nefertem, one of the prophecies is the prophecy of the blue lotus. That when the blue lotus was planted again in the Nile, then the restoration and the remembrance of this consciousness will then nourish the earth and humans. And there's this moment right now where they're starting to plant blue lotus in Egypt. So it's a really big moment. And the other piece with the blue lotus, which is the Nefertim, the child of Sekhmet and Ptah, there was a story that when a blue lotus, it's in the primordial waters, like the primordial waters of Nu, Blue lotus is mostly in the primordial waters, and at certain moments of the year, the blue lotus would open up with the sun, Ra, receive the light from the sun, Ra, which was considered to be the light from the future, because by the time light reaches here, it's from the future, from its point of origin. So it would receive the light from the future in the blue lotus, and then at sunset, when it would close up and go back into the Nile, it would then bring all that information from the future through the Nile and distribute it through the tributaries to all of the bodies of water.
Mm.
It was a way to bring the future into the holy waters of life that we drink and that we eat, that we're made of, and that we return to. So the blue lotus is very much a part of prophecy, and it's also a very powerful plant medicine. I'm sure many of you have worked with it, that opens up these liminal states, these threshold states between the seen and the unseen, similar to the work of Aset and Nebetet, the visible and the invisible. It opens up these liminal threshold states so we can commune not only with our subconscious and our conscious and our superconscious, but also with these unseen forces, these benevolent, loving, unseen forces to co-craft and shape with them. So this is that triadic family. And then you spoke of Ma'at, and I love
Before
Ma'at.
you go there,
Yeah,
I want to just ask you something.
yeah.
Um, the the idea of the blue lotus is fascinating because in the tantric tradition, the blue lotus is the symbol of Matangi, right? Also Tara, Matara. And the blue lotus is, yes, it is has the psychedelic properties. There's no doubt about that. That's why monks are called lotus eaters. That's why they call that in the Tibet and all. But the idea of the blue lotus, is the psychedelic properties was known in Kemet, or is it still understood, or is it because, like, for example, in India they have a huge ritual where they'll take, that on a particular full moon and a particular time, the dew drops that form there give it the psychedelic properties that then, when consumed, you get the full experience of the waters of creation, right? That whole idea. And Matangi is the singer of the song. She sings the songs into being. And when she sings the songs, the 8 superpowers come into your being, in your hridaya, in your heart, right? So when you take the blue lotus liquid, you're opening the heart fully to open. Is it a similar kind of mythology that you found in the Egyptian part? What is your take on that? Yeah.
Yes, there was many different ways that they worked with Blue Lotus through tinctures and oils and meat, like a drink and medicine. And it was actually very much used to open up these states of consciousness.
Is that a lost knowledge, or is it still unknown?
Some places, it's very hidden, but it's coming out more. It's coming
Really?
out more. Yeah,
I
the
come
Great
I come to your school and you show me.
We actually have a Rite of the Blue Lotus ceremony
Ooh.
coming up where this is exactly what we do. We work with the Blue Lotus in their different medicines, like an oil, tincture, spagyric, and the drink. And then we make offerings to the Blue Lotus through the process. And so we're communing with Nefertem. One of her, many of these netters, they have many different names, magical names, sacred names. And depending on the function of the world that we're in relationship with or dimension will depend on the name that's utilized. So I just want to speak to that. Ma'at means that which is straight. And oftentimes you see on her head a feather, her crown, a feather. And this feather is known to be the ostrich feather. However, it's also about the wind that moves through the feather. This is called the wind of Shu. And great, there's so many stories of Ma'at, but one of them is this idea that Ma'at represents cosmic law, cosmic harmony, cosmic order, and cosmic truth. And with that, one of the stories is that she came down with another netter named Jehuti, also known as Thoth. He has an ibis-headed nose, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, and this is where Hermetic wisdom comes from. And that Thoth Jehuti comes down with Ma'at, and Thoth Jehuti is the carrier of the mystery teachings that are in service to cosmic law, order, truth, and justice, Ma'at. One of the stories is they come down in this pyramidal shape ship,
Mhm.
and they land in the place of the Great Pyramid. This is one story. And where they land in the place of the Great Pyramid is where they brought forward the mystery teachings that include building of the pyramids, building of the esoteric architecture all over Kemet. And one thing I love is that the original capstone of the Great Pyramid is called the Pyramidion, and it also is known as the Ben Ben stone. And Ben stone is known as the Bennu bird, which is the phoenix, the bird of the phoenix. And the mystery teachings in Kemet reference the bringing of the mystery teachings of life, death, and rebirth, which is the medicine of the phoenix. And so the story is they come in this Ben stone to bring forward these teachings. And through that, Thoth Jehuti, Hermes Trismegistus, known to be the carrier of the Emerald Tablet, brings forward these creation technologies to build all of Egypt and Kemet on behalf of Ma'at. And Ma'at has a lot of the netters have different, there's known to be 3 rivers in Kemet. There's the river of the Nile, which is the place where heaven descends on earth and is made on earth again. And it's a reflection point of the heavenly regions. And that there's different altars similar to India that are the doorway between both. And then there's another river, and the river that's called the river of the Duat. And the river of the Duat is this when the body dies and the soul goes on a journey through the afterlife or the Duat, they ride this river. And so I'll get to that in a moment. And then the third river is called the celestial river, which is in the cosmos, in the sky. And that once the soul goes through the journey of the Duat, if it's, the heart is lighter than the feather, then it travels through the celestial kingdom into the field of reeds or to the afterlife with Assad. Now, in this 3 rivers, there's also this number of 42 that relate to Ma'at. What's most commonly known are the 42 negative confessions or the 42 ideals or the 42 laws of Ma'at. And this 42 also referenced in a very specific way regions of the cosmos. Like there are 42 regions of the cosmos that go with each of the 42 Ma'atis. There were 42 assessors that then mapped on the land that then also represented the judges, the 42 judges that the soul would meet at a particular hour, at the 5th and 6th hour. And so the story is when the body dies, the soul goes on a journey, and it has to meet the great Apep, the big, serpent that represents all the fears, a variety of different things, guardians and snakes at every gate. And it comes to this moment of what was called the Great Weighing. And at the Great Weighing, there was this scale. Many of you maybe already know this. There was a scale, and at the scale, you had this netter called Apuwat, like your best friend that's with you through every aspect of transformation, no matter what, like your dog, always gonna love you through all of it. And then there's also Thoth Jehuti, the ibis-headed bird that would, scribe everything. And then the 42 assessors of Ma'at, the 42 judges. And the story is that the heart will be put on the scale against the feather of Ma'at. And then the heart would be weighed against what were called the 42 negative confessions or the 42 ideals, one by one, that represent all of the judges. And then through the weighing of the heart, if the heart was lighter than the feather going through these 42 ideals, then it would enter into the field of reeds. If not, then it would be eaten by Amit, which
The
is
crocodile.
the crocodile, leopard, the great devourer will eat the heart and either send you into non-existence, your soul, or send you back here, because this place was recognized as the underworld, to come and do another round of transformation. So the ancient Egyptians lived by this. Death was very close. And they lived with this ideal that there's gonna be a moment that we're gonna meet Ma'at and the 42 assessors of Ma'at. And we're gonna get our heart weighed against all of these laws or virtues or ideals. The ideals are sort of a more modern day approach, like I honor all animals with reverence. I keep the waters pure. I keep my own counsel. I honor the goddess and the god. I embrace the all. There's 42 ideals that were weighed. And every day, the ancient Egyptians would say in the morning, I will not, and go through all 42. And then at night, check themselves and say, I have not. And choose to keep the soul as an interior system of checks and balances on behalf of honoring Ma'atian law. And we just actually, in sort of the zodiacal approach to the different netters that go through, that represent each of the signs, We just passed from Ma'at into Nut. Just wanted to acknowledge that. So Aquarius oftentimes associates with Ma'at and Ma'atian law. So there's a little bit about Ma'at. I serve her. I am deeply in service to her. And then the fourth one that you brought up was Hathor, also known as Heter, Heteru. Hathor means house of Horus. Heter means house of Heru. And so inherently there's two netters combined, but we'll focus on Hathor right now, Heter. Her temple, so real quick, Sekhmet doesn't have a specific temple in Kemet, but she has many, she's all over Kemet. You see her statues everywhere. There's actually even one place in the Temple of Mut where at one point there were 365 Sekhmet statues, and a lot of them have been stolen from Egypt, and you see them in museums all over the world. Somehow Sekhmet is just all over these museums. And that's one thing that's very unique about her in Kemet is that she's in a lot of the temples. Okay, Ma'at doesn't have her own that we know of. However, things are being discovered every day with Egypt. Who knows what we're going to find out tomorrow? And then with Hathor, she has a temple called the Temple of Dendera. And it is this, oh, it's just so beautiful. The first time I went there, the whole ceiling was black when I was 19. Now the whole thing is full color. They've restored it. It's perfect time to go to Egypt if you haven't been. It's all blue. You see the cosmos in the ceiling. Now she is this known as the cosmic mother. You know, Aset, Isis, is known as the holy mother, and then Hathor, Heter, is known as the cosmic mother. She references the cow. Bovines are very revered in Kemet, and she represents the cow. And oftentimes her crown is the crown that we saw in the image of Isis Aset in the beginning, where it's a sun disk with the horns. And that crown is actually the crown of Hathor, Heter, where Aset assumes the form or becomes a vehicle for Hathor, Heter. And she's this, one of the stories is that she's the cow mother, the cow cosmic mother, that through her legs holds up the region of our local universe. And that the Milky Way is her milk. And so we're drinking of the Milky Way of Hathor, Heter, by living in this local universe. And she's also known to be the cosmic mother that represents dreams and represents sound healing and represents the sistrums, the rattles that rattle in similar to rattles all over the world. In Kemet, they have these ones that are called sistrums, and they're metal, and they usually have a symbol of Hathor there. And it's a rattle to interdimensionally commune. And it's also in her temple, the Temple Dendera, it's the story of the cosmos is there. How creation organizes itself, how the cosmos organizes itself so that we can exist here in this local universe. Now, Hathor, Hathor, House of Horus, references her consort and also the child of Isis and Osiris, Aset and Asar, Horus, Heru, the falcon god. And Heru, Horus, has many different forms. And in this way, the roots of marriage, actually, that we know of, at least in Kemet, is that people would make offerings to Hathor, Heter, so that she would bestow love and fertility upon the land to all of Kemet. So she's a symbol of love and fertility and abundance for the land. It's like when you go to a ceremony or wedding ceremony or union ceremony, we all get filled up with the love. It's very similar to her work. She's like that grand love. And Hathor also has this lineage of priestesses or priestesses that serve her. And some of the stories of the lineage of the priestesses is that they were there for every moment a child was born. They were the midwives, the doulas, the ones that received the divination of Hathor, Heter, coming into form, or what they were noticing about this divine child coming from the cosmos and how they birthed and what their first breath of life was, that they were there. And also in the temple, the story is that the Hathors or the Heters, they're musicians with sistrums and drums and rattles and lyres. And they're the chantresses, the chants and the mantras, the songs that sing creation into existence, that they through song and dance and chants and instrumentation sing the geometric patterns into existence. And that was the work of Hathor, Heter. She's one of my favorites. I also serve her. And part of what feels, it's very much like her medicine feels very strong right now. And in relationship to the cosmos, she is also known to be related to Pleiades. All of these netters have very specific
The
stars.
Seven Sisters.
The seven sisters, exactly.
Mm.
Aset is Sirius. She relates to Sirius A. Sirius B is Nebatet. Sekhmet oftentimes is related to the Lyran constellation, Lyra. Ma'at is all of the constellations, that have come from her. And then Hathor is Pleiades.
Wonderful.
So there's a little offering into these four
What a
nectar.
wonderful map you know what I love about you is that you're like a pattern recognition investigator. I'm like that too. I love that you've done it for Kemet. It's just wonderful to just listen to you. And you're such a good storyteller as well. I love it. And thank you. I mean, we didn't need any visuals. You just told the story and we just imagined the whole thing and we saw it. It was like wonderful. Thank
I
you.
actually had some visual
I know, but we didn't need
that
it.
went
Just,
into it.
I think that one of the questions that comes to my mind is that I think that what we're seeing here is a culture that believed in harmony, correspondence, that if the correspondence or the dharma fails, the world will fall apart, and we are living in extremely trying times right now, whether it's environmental, whether it's political, whether it's gender, whether it's rights, whether it's, I think that you are obviously at the cutting edge of trying to bring this culture into healing this age, right? But were there examples in Egyptian culture through the ages, whether it was the Ptolemies or the other ones, where this had to keep coming back over and over again to revive and bring back the order? Did you find that in your studies?
Yeah, and also just the level of colonization and forgetfulness that has happened, and also the misuse of some of these cosmic forces too. And so we're in a really
Like the
beautiful,
Golden Dawn and Telema and all these people, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and also sometimes, one of the another netters called Renenet, and Renenet is the name Ren. And in the name Renenet, she represents, her name is all names. All names come from her name. The name Ren. That's one of the spiritual bodies is the name, the Ren. And one of the stories is that each of the Kemetic names, like Aset, Asar, Sekhmet, Ma'at, Hathor, Heter, is the sound and the vibration of the cosmic power. And when we learn to say the name, then with the clarity, then it releases the force or the energy of this cosmic netter. And so one thing that's always interesting to me is that we're still learning and restoring the memory of these ancient names, what the older
Mm,
names are,
mm, mm.
which carry the vibration and the sound and the frequency of the cosmic force itself. It's happening live. That's another thing I really find to be very interesting in the apocalypse, the great unveiling, that we're in. One of the things that's unveiling is the older ancient teachings of many cultures, and then very much Kemet, Egypt, even the word Kemet. Kemet's its original name, Kemet, and Kemet is where alchemy comes from, alchem, chem, Kemet.
The black soil.
Yes, the black soil, the black, fertile, rich soil, regenerative agriculture,
Mm,
farmers.
mm.
The black, fertile soil that's the alchemical process of transformation. Al is Arabic, Chem is Egypt. And the work of alchemy, our bodies as
You're right.
alchemical laboratories, and the alchemical process of transformation. So we're even restoring the memory of that. It's just a
So the
beautiful thing.
continuous battle to remember,
Yes.
and that's the big struggle that we have, right? Because when I look at the evolution of Kemetic wisdom, right? Just like Tantric wisdom or Hindu wisdom or Buddhist wisdom around the world, you see this, especially with the sacred feminine, you see this desperate need to be reborn, radical rebirth over and over and over again. Isis becomes Mary, Mary becomes Kalasera, Kalisera. We see this over and becomes the Black Madonna, becomes all these things, and we see this, and it's almost like, today, we have so many female rock stars now who are able to do that vibration, but don't even know what their DNA is that they're vibrating, and what is the role of the prophet today in your mind, or the prophetess today? And since everybody here can potentially be a prophetess or a prophet, what is the role that we can play in whispering into people's ears the truth of this harmony? What can we do?
Well, what I love about the word prophet, prophetess is to see.
Mm,
And we are at a time of all of these prophecies talking about right now. And that we chose to be born at this time when all these prophecies are referencing this period of human transition. It's really quite magnificent.
mm,
Part of the role is, what we're doing is to remember,
mm.
you know,
To bring the
bring
14 parts of the body together.
back together. There you go. Into wholeness
And the
again.
42 truths.
Yes, exactly. Bring the 14 parts back together. Thank you to this orchid. And restore in the Kemetic tradition the Maatian law, and to also employ our senses and to continue the journey of waking up our consciousness, you know.
So we,
And
we wake up and then we act as lights in the world, basically.
we become lighthouses, and then better
Lighthouses.
together. Better
Mm.
together, multifaceted jewels polishing each other in the jeweled net of Indra, you know. That's
So
our work.
I think that's what's wonderful is that what I love about the people that I'm going to invite to this Kula to talk over the next few months is that they see the patterns in everything, I'm not looking for dogma. I'm not looking for this is the only way, and everybody I'm going to bring here, whether they're from science or AI or from spirituality or from anywhere, are going to look at this mosaic in a magical way. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that's I know, Sue, you love that way of looking at things. Go ahead, go ahead.
That is the only way to look at it because we are no longer blinders where you're stuck to where you grew up, how you grew up, what you learned from your parents and their parents. I mean, that we're world people now. And it's so much easier to take in what works and have it create a whole new human being. That's really what we need, right?
you know And I think that what's important, and that's why I invited Isis first, is that I want you to meet people who are doing this work,
Hmm.
because we always think, oh, nobody's doing it or nobody's talking like this, but it's not true. There are many like us out there, who are trying to integrate, who are trying to find magic and bring the old gods back, and the goddesses back, you know.
Right.
Sorry, Sue was talking about that, why the blinkered approach is so not what we need today. We need this open way of bringing this remembering back. Go ahead, Sue. Sue is about to become a priestess. Well, tell us about your lineage, where your lineage is. Go on. Yeah.
Ma'at in Jehote, same as you. And I worked with Dr. Deidre Kennedy, and I studied with, tomorrow's my last day, 3 years. And then I go to Siwa in 2 weeks yeah, for the ordination. And I mean, I've been asked, always asked, are you ready to be ridden? Do you know what that means? So am I ready to be ridden? And you pop in. Raj is like, he always knows what I need. Seriously. So I am definitely gonna check out your course, and I do some some Oracle work, but I've never really dug into it because, there's always this side that's like, oh, that's like not for me, or you become a little bit weary. You become very human about yourself, that this couldn't be something that should be or could be for you. And I definitely feel that that's where I'm pushed. And also, Raja would always say to me, well, why are you doing all this? I said, because I want a good death, right? Isn't that what we all want? Is a good death. So that's what I'm working on. I'm just finishing the Book of Gates. Have you read the Book of Gates? I got to the ninth gate and finally was like, shit, now I know what it is. It's all cosmic, it's all dimensional work. And I'm thinking, oh, it's about death, it's about death. Took me nine gates to finally come to the realization. So yeah.
Welcome to the Venusian Gate of Lucifer. Well, good for you.
And they're talking about the void, and I was
I
like,
know exactly what we. I took Sue, kicking and screaming to Nepal and India last year, right? And they went on. She never wanted to go until I kind of said, "You got to come. You have to come." And she came, and it was eye opening. It was
oh,
like.
I loved it.
So do you have a question for Isis? Go on.
Do I have a question? Have you been to Siwa? I've never been. I've been to Egypt three times, and this is the one place I wanted to go. And when she changed the whole itinerary to go to Siwa, I was just like, I know this is where I have to be.
Oh,
And
I
that's,
love Siwa. Yes, I
yeah.
love Siwa. I'm so it's how
Yeah,
what
tell everybody what Siva is. What is that? Go on,
it's
Isis.
an oasis in the desert, the Siwa Oasis, and it's a really incredible place because so much trade would pass through there. And there's this one, or actually, I don't want to say it because maybe you're going there. Actually, I'm not going to say too much more because I don't know where initiation is going to happen. So I want to honor that process.
Yeah, maybe not, because
Close,
she
close your
she does
ears.
have it
Close your
all.
ears.
She does have it all, like, and then this is
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I'm not going
Okay.
to be that person, but I just want to just blessings on your initiation. Incredible in Siwa. Wow. And if anyone, if you're interested in Kemet, I highly recommend like what you're doing is go to Siwa. It's a very, very, very special oasis, and there's so many magnificent special moments that can occur there that I'm sure you're going to have. And it's
How do you spell that? Siva is Siwa, is it?
WA,
yeah,
correct.
Siva. Siva.
Siwa.
Cleopatra's baths are there. And I'll say a couple things that I'm guessing is probably where you won't be initiated. Keep that secret.
Okay.
There's the salt flats where you lay in these salt baths and you float. It's like so healing. And then the sand dune journeys. We've been on journeys through the sand dunes. And one time um, we were having tea in the desert. It's so soft, the sand. We went on a walk with our friends and we came upon thousands of candles in the desert and just magnificent beauty reflecting the sky. And then there's some other really special places that I'm guessing, Sue, you're going. So highly recommended, Siwa.
Thank you, Sue. So if everybody would like to raise their hand, if they would like to ask a question, please use the symbol below. All right, let's go to who would like to ask a question. Please raise your hand. Thanks, Sue.
Srimata, thank you. That was very good. Felt very good in the heart. And thank you, Isis Indriya. It is so beautiful. You're radiant and just so glowing. Thank you. So I have two questions. The first one is about the falcon god. I have seen visions of the falcon god. And so my dear friend Martha said they are my guides. So I wanted your like kind of an intuitive um, take on that.
Hmm. Oh, I love that Heru Horus is coming to you. So he has many forms. One is the divine child, the consort and the elder. And Heru, we are all Heru, we are all the divine children. And this time of Heru, that Heru's coming to you is also the healer and the warrior that's coming back to restore and remember everything back together again into wholeness. This is the medicine of Heru. And also, one of the stories in Kemet is, our spine is the Jed, like the Jed, and then the inner eye, Ma'at, the Jed eye. And then the inner eye of Ma'at, as we decalcify Ma'at, it comes through the falcon eyes. And when they would draw, do you remember have you ever seen the drawings where they would draw the image of the eye of Heru? This eye, the right eye, is the eye of the sun, and then also the eye of Ra. And then the left eye is the eye of Jehuti, the eye of the moon. And when we erect the Jed and decalcify the pineal, the eye of Ma'at, then the eye of truth can prophecy, see through our falcon eyes to help us serve this time of transition and transformation. And the whole story,
You're
all of
speaking
Kemet.
Kundalini speak completely. In fact, the course I'm teaching on the Shift Network is exactly about that from the Shakti point of view. How to open the pineal gland and the third eye.
I was just going to acknowledge that the entire creation story, what are called the epigomenal days of the whole creation of Kemet, is the story of Heru, of Horus.
And I was so touched when you were saying the original names in the way it's supposed to be, because Raja teaches us the right way to imbibe the mantras, like say it deep in your heart. And when you were saying it, I could feel it. Yes, it's that deep. It's not coming from the mouth, it's coming from the heart. So if you could initiate us, the whole Kula, into these Neterius, I would love it.
How to call their name.
Yeah.
Invoke them. How to invoke them. Go for it.
One thing I just want to highlight in the R, because the name is the namer of the name that is in all names is Renenet. And the rolling of the creates a vibration just like you shared in the heart. So maybe we can start by just rolling the R.
They're doing it.
Renenet. And then that vibration of the name itself in the R is what opens up the heart and opens up the channels to be a vehicle for the names. Because all the names are the Ren. Renenet. The E reference oftentimes the vowels reference the center of the cosmic power itself, and then the essence of it, and then the consonants reference the circle, the container for the essence of the cosmic power or force of the netter to emerge through the vowels. So I just want to speak to that part. And then one thing I've been taught is that when we're learning how to, and we're still learning, pronounce these most magnificent cosmic power names, accents are very helpful, like for T, aset, the T, the accent also sometimes can reference a feminine aspect, not always, but for the most part. And in this context, it references the serpentine life force energy. So let us start with the ah, which is the essence of the vowel, the set. Let's try that, set. She is the throned one. Isis is the Greek name, set. So we'll just do those four. S, K, and T are also very highly accented. And then the vowels are like the elemental powers that come alive to empower the life force energy to move about and create in time and space. So Sekhmet, the it's a little bit deeper in here versus ka, it's Sekhmet. Sekhmet. And you feel it deeper. This is called also the place of the void, or the da'at, or the duat. It's the channel that connects the head and the rest of the body. And so the it builds a bridge for the life force power of the sekhem, the sek power, to come into the body. So Sekhmet. Then we have Ma'at. The Greek name is Mayet, but the Kemetic is Ma'at. Ma'at.
Can I ask you
Ma'at.
one question there? How
Yes.
did you, who was the champions of remembering this way of sounding and toning? How did that happen?
The Kemites, and also really the Kemites that
Who were
have,
the Kemites? Who were they?
there's a whole lineage that come from a particular school of thought that some of which I've studied with, that come from the Heliopolis tradition or a particular region in Kemet that have
So they
really,
actually people from ancient traditional Egyptian culture who have maintained the lineage. Even though Islam has come in and done different things,
yeah,
they were able to continue the vibrations and the healing traditions. And
yes. And then the Dogon people also of Mali are known to have been,
yes, I've heard about that.
yeah,
Yes.
left Kemet and went to Mali, and they are carriers of the lineage.
That's a whole other research area that I'm interested in because I was born in Nigeria in West Africa, and I grew up with Yoruba culture and also, and all the Orishas and all the gods of West Africa, and their lineage back to Egypt is also very strong. In fact, our own theory is that all the great traditions come out of Kemet and Sumer. You know, my Indian brothers won't like me saying this, but it comes from there. Like we have to accept it. We have to understand it. And I think that the Saraswati River civilization developed different ways of intoning and awakening using different Sanskrit vowels and words. And that gave a whole other culture to India that was different. But this Kemetic idea of sound and order, wow, that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to stop that one there. And anybody want to learn this, go join her school. All right.
I would love to just share one thing real
Okay,
quick.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Prophetess and the seer and the oracle and the prophet. So in the name Ma'at is also Ma'ah, which is very important because in the Greek name Mayet, it's not there. Ma'ah is, there are 7 cosmic powers of ancient Egypt, and one of them is Ma'ah, and Ma'ah is to see. It's the prophecy, the ability to see interdimensionally. And in that, with Ma'at, the directive of Ma'at is to open our ability to see interdimensionally. So I just want
Wow.
to offer that in
So
another
what
reason
is
why.
the theory? What is the theory there of interdimensional travel, seeing, being? What is that other dimension that they talk about?
Oh,
What is
such
there?
a topic, such a big topic. But I'll share one part of that topic. There's
Give
so
me
much
give me
there.
the quick cliff notes. Give me the quick cliff notes.
Oh, the quick cliff notes. I'll share one part that I'm sure many of us have already heard. So the Ba is the soul, the Ka is the spirit, and the Ba and the Ka. And one of my teachers, Muhammad Shatta, he said, Isis, I said, all of the natures, we all have a divine double.
Yes.
We're born a twin. And the soul comes into the body, and the Ka is the highest self and or our divine double that's always moving about in time and space. And sometimes they're signaled as different falcons, different Herus, Horuses, the Ka and the Ba. And that the Ka, the spirit body, astral travels and moves through at least 9, if not more, dimensions. And is sometimes that one of my elders was like, when you're daydreaming, you're astral traveling, your Ka is busy. And the Ba is when we're ensouled in the physical body. And so oftentimes,
The Jiva and the Atma is this whole idea. Right? I get it. Okay, very good. And,
okay.
but what? So, but again, are we dealing with dimensional cosmic intelligence that's trying to help us, or only works when we invoke it?
So that's a really big question also, at least in
I don't ask more
big
questions. I don't
question.
ask more questions.
So one of the stories is that as much as we seek to commune with the divine, so does the divine seek to experience itself through us. And through the function of rituals and rites, through the art of bonding and crafting for the purpose of co-shaping together. The greatest human accomplishment is to do ritual and rites to support, this is one of the quotes, to support the bonding, to maintain the bonds. So these cosmic forces can experience, empower, and also materialize and co-shape at the altar with us. Now, in the a lineage that I am very devoted to, the story is that free will, we're here because of free will. And so there are divine intervention moments, but in terms of actually willfully coming in without our request, it's almost like not quite totally allowed.
No, I know. I've understood that. The way it's divided in the tantric tradition is called the Shri Kula and the Kali Kula. And the Shri Kula is the benevolence of the universe to look after us no matter what idiots we are, right? Because it's just trying to be nice to us in this illusion of life, right? But the Kali Kula only activates if you invoke it,
Yeah.
right? And it's like a inner mantra to awaken, right? And Kundalini is one of them. And that comes from, and it's an interesting dilemma because the worst part about the Kali Kula is that a part of you can say, well, they don't really care about us at all, right? But only come into being when we remember, right? And that's a strange idea of a divine. It's like the car and the bar, right? It's the car and the bar. It's that whole thing, right? What was that earlier one you had said about the part of the Horus is flying around and part of us is trying to maintain always in the body? Is that the case?
Yeah, the ba, the soul in the body, and oftentimes you see it like a bird, like the bird of the falcon. And then the ka is the spirit that moves about in the form of a falcon. And sometimes in rituals or rites or ceremonies, some of the stories is that ancestral healing happens in relationship to the bas or the kas working together. And even just sitting in a circle like here in the kula with, the altar being the center of what wants to emerge, the ba and the ka are flying around, restoring and repairing and remembering and weaving.
Beautiful. Oh, is that where the Merkaba idea comes from?
Yeah, the mer in this context, there's the Merkava, which is the chariot in the, Jewish lineage.
Ezekiel.
Yep, exactly. And the Merkaba, the mer oftentimes references the water, the holy waters of life, the mer.
So the holy water is the alchemical base in which Ka and Ba can interact.
Yes,
Ah,
100%.
very interesting. I like that. Okay, last question. Let's go to Gilda. Gilda, greetings. Go ahead, Gilda.
Cheers, everyone. Lovely
Cheers.
presentation. Thank you so much, Isis. I mean, I'm just laughing because it's just so clear to me. Whether it's, I do practice Kriya Yoga, Tibetan Buddhism, and individuation through dreams. And I get all this information. It all comes in my dreams. The Markaba, it's just all there. And every morning I read a segment of the book of they call it the Egyptian Book of the Dead, but it's really called the Book of Going Forth by Day. So it's all there. It's just there. And
Beautiful.
to me, the rituals are the localized, the version that takes place at any given era and time. But the essence is it's the same as the Indian tradition. It's very
It's a perennial
cute.
philosophy. You're right.
Yes,
Yes,
and
it really
I
is.
would I would suggest you might want to look at Andrew Holishuk has a book on dream yoga, and they are 9 stages.
Yeah.
9 stages, like the 9 gates you
And
just
Tripura
mentioned.
Sundari is also 9 stages.
That
Tripura
move
Sundari.
around. So
Thank you. What is the name of the book?
Dream Yoga.
Dream.
And
Okay.
Andrew Holishuk.
Oh,
He has an
all right.
academy
Okay.
all on dreams. It's a wonderful,
Wonderful.
esoteric academy that to miss is wow. Yeah, they
Thank you,
work.
Gilda. Thank you.
Yes. I'm wondering if you can recommend which Tibetan Book of the Dead version do you recommend? Or do you recommend any?
Egyptian, you mean Egyptian book?
Yes.
Egyptian.
So there's a lot of amazing translations. There's the Robert Faulkner is, I feel like, the most traditional in one sense. That's a great version. Also, the Book of Life is another one that's a great version. And then the one that I love for just pure poetry so much is called Awakening Osiris by Norman D. Ellis. It's so beautiful. Every time I
Great.
read any passage from that, I just melt.
Mm.
So, but the more traditional side would be the Robert Faulkner.
But you would recommend the
That's the one I have.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And
Yeah.
then the Book of Life is another
That's
really
it.
good one. And then the one for just like poetry, just
That's it.
it's so beautiful.
Mm.
It's Awakening Osiris by Norman D. Ellis. It's so
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have energy for one more question?
yeah.
Okay, let's go to Joel, if that's all right.
Hi.
Joel has been in the races with us for a while. he's an explorer of all kinds of esoterica. So
Just back from Sedona early this morning. Just came back. Thank you. Isis, I had some difficulty hearing you volume-wise. I was wondering if you could say something else about the crystal ball that helped you get started. I have one that looks very much like it that I got at a Rockhound swap meet, about the same size. I was just wondering how did that interaction work, or what was the starting point with that this crystal ball assisted you?
So I really found once the crystal ball, can you hear me, Joel? Sound
Yes.
working? Okay. Once the crystal ball came into our lives, we started learning scrying. And one of the ways we started learning scrying, here's a really simple practice that I found to be very effective. It's very simple. So with these 3 fingers, I'll connect the current of the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And then when I'm introducing myself to the crystal ball, I place these 2 fingers in the sockets, one in the middle, and I put my fingers on the crystal ball and I introduce myself. And then once I've introduced myself and where I'm at in the moment, share a little bit to the crystal ball, then I close the circuits. Then I switch the left and the right hand over to receive, and then put the left hand on the crystal ball to receive anything the crystal ball wants to share, like that. Then I close the circuit, and then I start asking questions. So I'll send a question with the right, and then receive instruction. And that simple practice opened up the doorway for being able to see fracture, like the different colors and expressions and details in the ball. And then it introduced me to the council members that I work with. But that was my first doorway into building the relationship with the crystal ball. And I use
how many are in your council now, in your inner council? How many are there?
currently there are 9.
No, wonderful. So you have the 9. Are they all goddesses or all different types of energy?
They are all goddesses.
Wonderful. You lucky soul. I'll introduce you to my council one day. We'll talk about it.
I cannot wait.
Joel, did that answer your question?
Well, yes, it did very much so. I was wondering, did you clear it or program it or anything like that to start?
Yeah, I definitely cleared it with salt. Put in
Okay.
salt under the moon for a night. And then I have a consecration rite where I call upon Heteot Hathor, actually, specifically, where I'll then put the crystal ball inside a circle of salt, the symbol of Venus. And after I've cleared it, and then I ask Heteot Hathor to consecrate it. There's a few more details, but that is one way you can start it. So it's consecrated for the purpose of, and I speak that what that is. This is consecrating this crystal ball for the purpose of, and whatever it is, and then it becomes for that specifically. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I say that just because I just met someone 2 days ago who has a little shop in Sedona, back away from the road. You wouldn't notice us, just in a plaza, and he just gave me all this information about that exact thing. Just here, take this, So thank you.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joel. And hopefully you're coming to Sedona this year. Don't skip this year.
Oh yeah.
And if we get
Yeah,
Isis, you're definitely coming. I know you're coming if we get Isis.
I think
I'm
so.
feeling it.
And so what I wanted to do was that is we're going to wrap up now, and I thought that maybe you could take us through a few minute guided meditation or something you'd like to do to bring it all together, right? And before you do, Christian, if you can share the teachings one more time. So the Oracle Arts Apprenticeship is the path of the jewel. It's a 1 year program, 9 month program with her, and basically it's like a PhD program in Oracle Arts, and you get to go and if you practice, you can also then go to Egypt and do other things with her, and there are a whole bunch of things you can do. So this is how you can do it, and Christian is pasting the link there. And if you want to immediately get something, there's 6 weeks left in it. This program is on the Shift Network right now, just like mine is, and you can go and do this on the Shift Network right now. Okay?
Actually, it didn't. It's starting this next week because of
Oh,
the
yes, because of the storm. So it was meant to be that we all can be able to join, basically. Thank you. And so those are the two programs I would suggest. And you can, and I think Christian will share an email address if you want to reach out to her, and you can talk to her, And hopefully we will be co-facultying each other soon and doing stuff together. I like that.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to now hand over to you to do a little closing ritual or whatever you'd like to do, and we'll wrap up after that. Thank you, everybody, and Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma to everybody. Thank you, thank you.
Well, what I'd love to do is actually, in ancient Egypt, there's this nectar called Heka, Heka, and Heka is the magical practice where all of the senses, the ritual gestures, the word, the utterance are all unified, and so that we become vehicles for magic. And so I'm just going to pass in English a very simple practice that you can utilize every day if you want. And it's making an offering of this frankincense first. Okay, so this uses our body, and you can do it sitting seated down. In ancient Egypt, one of the most treasured approaches to life is the consciousness of offering. And part of it is being a vehicle for offering. So this is what this is for. So you can repeat after me if you wish. I'm just passing this to utilize at home every day if you want. You can pass it on to my son loves this. And so you can repeat after me with the ritual gestures and carry it forward. And in this one, please speak your own name. I, Isis. You bring your hands up into invoke infinite source energy. This is looking through the triangle. Invoke infinite source energy. Then you bring your hands over your crown like this. To align my highest self with the will of the divine. Then you bring into your wrists. I ground. And then connecting all your fingers from pinky to thumb, making my life an offering. Then here. Then you bring your hands on this downward facing triangle. So I may be of benefit. And then you open up your hands like this to the web of life. So we'll do it 2 more times. You can just repeat after me. Follow the ritual gestures if you wish. I, Isis, invoke infinite source energy to align my highest self with the will of the divine. I ground, making my life an offering, so I may be of benefit and service to the web of life. One more time. I, Isis, invoke infinite source energy to align my highest self with the will of the divine. I ground, making my life an offering, so I may be of benefit and service to the web of life. So that ritual came from the Oracle Divination Board. So it's an official passing from the board.
Beautiful. Jai
Okay.
Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Thank you, Ma. And I will see you soon. And let me know if you can come from 3rd to 7th September to Sedona. Let's do it. Jai Ma. Blessings to everybody and blessings to you. Jai Ma. Jai Ma.